Welcome to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1 Hank FM. Live from Boo Rays of New Orleans and Hudson Oaks, the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. And now, with head coach Robby Jones, here's the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist.
At midfield, Beard will take it. He will look to throw. Stands in the middle of the field. Fires it downfield. He's got Jamal Hollister at the 5. Caught. Touchdown! And it was good to see Jamal Hollister break through for this receiver crew for the Bearcats. And we welcome you to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. Here from Boo Rays of New Orleans and Hudson Oaks. The other locations that they are proudly serving are in Crowley and Lake Worth. Boo Rays is celebrating its 20th anniversary. And we're coming to you from the Hudson Oaks location every Monday throughout the course of the 2024-2025 athletic calendar season here. And as always, we're also brought to you by our two presenting sponsors, H5 Sports Barn and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. I'm Kevin Lonnquist, joined by Robby Jones, the head coach of the Aledo Bearcats. We'll get to Coach Jones here in just a few moments. The big one Friday at Tim Buchanan Stadium over in Eastern Parker County. Number 1, Denton Ryan at 4-0. At number 2, Aledo at 4-1. Both are undefeated in District 3-5A. Aledo's national record 122-game district winning streak on the line. Pre-game show on Hank FM is at 6:30. The kickoff is at 7 o'clock, and we are already at the halfway point of the 2024 season. Can you believe that? And, of course, if you're going by past Aledo seasons, that means we're only 1/3 of the way through the season. But so let's hope that continues the way it is. By the way, this is the 5th all-time meeting between the Bearcats and the Raiders. They are 2-2. The Bearcats have won the last 2 meetings. Ryan won the first 2 meetings back in 2002 and 2003. So as much anticipated as this game is, again, only the 5th all-time meeting between these two programs. And, of course, we'll be joined by Coach Jones here in just a few moments. And our second segment, we will be featuring 2 major factors to this Bearcats offensive line. That's Payton Williams and Ryan Campbell. They're, for now, on the left side of the offensive line. That can change because of some movement later this week. But let's start with Coach Jones. And as always, we review last week. 63-3, the Bearcats handled Keller Fossil Ridge just from an execution standpoint and just the way your team was locked in. What did you think?
Yeah, we were pleased with how they came out, executed right away, got touchdown on the very first play. Defense did a good job stopping them like they always have so far this year. We just like the fact that, we were on a short week, so we didn't have as much time to prepare, and we knew, the next week is Denton Ryan. So I thought the kids did a good job of focusing on Fossil Ridge and then going out and playing the game the way it should be played.
It took only 8 plays for the Bearcats to score 21 points. That's like video game stuff.
Yeah, so that's difficult to do, number one.
Yes.
But, it shows the explosiveness that we have on offense. We went in at halftime. We started talking about, hey, what we want to do second half because we were up, and we didn't want to leave the starters in too long. And we go, Coach, then the offensive coaches go, we've only run 15 plays. And so I said, yeah, we're going to give them at least 1 series, maybe 2. I think we went out with 1 with all the ones, and then some of them stayed out for a second series. But, games like that, it's hard to get good game reps when you do get up and you score so quickly and you get up so much on somebody. But we wanted to make sure our guys were ready for, the coming weeks, not just that game.
Yeah, and I think it was only 34 plays the prior week against Birdville for homecoming. So, I mean, if you're looking at that, roughly 50 plays or less between the last 2 weeks.
Right, and the big problem with that is, our guys, they get used to only playing 34 plays, and not all of them were the first team. And then you get into a game where you got to go 4 quarters and you're not ready for it. So, and that's why sometimes people get mad at us for leaving our starters in too long, but we got to get them prepared for games down the road.
Like this one coming up on Friday, exactly. For sure, because pretty much I guarantee that this should be a 4-quarter game unless something ridiculous happens in it. But let's turn to your offense, and we've talked about this over the weeks, and obviously for as many years as I've been following this program. I mean, your running game will always be your calling card, but to your point about the fewer number of plays, I mean, that impacts the number of carries that guys like Ray Guillory and Caden Wingfield can have. Each had less than 10 carries last week against Fossil Ridge, kind of that same number the prior week against Birdville. And I would think you're okay to that because of the fact that even though they need the carries, if you have the deeper and like you hope that you'll have, that kind of saves some tread on the tires for deeper into the season.
Yeah, it does, but it cuts down, like I said, on their conditioning.
Right.
Ray only had 5 carries the other night. We would have liked for him to have had 10 or 12, just so he's getting the conditioning of game speed types of plays, and now we're going to go into a week where there's a possibility of him getting 20 carries or more. And, he hadn't done that yet this year.
The 58-yard run that he broke off, what did you think of that, and what did that tell you about him? What kind of signals did that send you?
He still has some, initial burst and explosion, and we've talked about this before. One of the things that we got to continue to work on with Ray is to get that top end speed so that he's running away from people, not getting caught from behind.
Does he feel even more comfortable on the knee as he's continuing to go forward?
Yeah, I think he feels real comfortable with the knee now. There's no problems there. He's still taking care of it, still doing therapy with Coach Little whenever he gets a chance to,
right.
To make sure that, he's continuing to keep that strength with that knee and doing all the things that he did, leading up to the season to strengthen it and get it in good condition, and then, it gets a little sore at times, so he has to go in there and get ice treatment, things like that on it. But I think out on the football field, there's no effects, from the injury. He's just out there, just the timing of everything and getting ready to go right at the beginning of the season. The, speed training that he missed out on, that's the only thing that's kind of holding him back a little bit right now, but you can still see, the greatness that Ray has, and we're going to see that Friday night, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully so. Your quarterback, Gavin Beard, another solid performance, roughly 200 yards, 3 scores. He's only missed 3 passes in these last 2 games against Birdville and Fossil Ridge. And, again, that's kind of a carbon copy, a performance from him. But what are you seeing from him in these last 2 games? Again, the movement looks good. He seems really patient in the pocket, and then just kind of going through his progressions, that sort of thing.
No, he's doing a great job of distributing the ball, getting the ball out to our playmakers. Caden Finley, what did he have, 3 touchdowns the other night on 4 catches. And really, his other one was one where he kind of dove to catch the ball at the 1, so it could have been 4 for 4. But Gavin's done a really good job of making sure he's getting the ball to our playmakers. Now, one of the things he's got to do against Ryan is take care of the football and don't give them, more possessions. That was one of the things we did last year. I think Haas went into the game with no interceptions on the season and threw 2 in the Denton Ryan game.
Right.
And, we can't make those mistakes against a team like Denton Ryan. They are talented enough and they're good enough for us not to help them at all.
Right.
So one of the big keys we're going to have in the game is taking care of the football, and Gavin's done a pretty good job of that. That ball that got intercepted the other night got tipped up. It was a contested ball, and I think our receiver actually tipped it up, and then their DB caught it.
And Kyle Hicks said something on the broadcast. He kind of felt like Blake Burdine was the receiver, or the play was the interception there, but he kind of felt like Blake's arm kind of got grabbed by the defender, and that kind of caused that play to unfold like it did.
Yeah, I think it did. And plus it was a contested ball, which I don't mind him throwing those contested balls as long as we make a play on it.
Sure. Let's talk about one of your younger players here. And that you got the turnover last week. You got an interception in the 3rd quarter from Jordan Hall, one of your backups. He's your freshman, and this is a guy that you guys really like coming into your program. It's not often that you see a freshman make the varsity at Aledo, but his ceiling is something that you and I have talked about over the last few weeks, especially starting with the intra-squad scrimmage back in August, and then you got him some playing time last week, and then he delivers with the pick.
Yeah, he's an extremely talented young man. He's going to do great things for us in the future. We're just going to have to keep his head on straight, because sometimes you get those young guys up here on the varsity and they kind of get the big head a little bit. We can't let him get the big head. We got to keep him grounded. But we don't really like having freshmen and sophomores up on the varsity if they're not going to play a whole lot. But he's talented enough to get on the field for us. We have 2 seniors and another sophomore that are ahead of him right now, but he is going to get some playing time, and we're putting him on special teams to get him some special team reps. And early on the plan was with him, if we weren't going to play him in a game, we're going to play him on the JV, which is what we did against Lancaster.
Right.
And when we played Geyer, I believe Alex Patton was out that game, so we had to have him up in case something happened to one of our other corners. So, we've got no problem with Jordan going out on the field because he is, like I said, he's a really good, talented young kid.
And speaking of Alex Patton, he's been getting a lot of playing time here. I mean, it's kind of turned into a nice rotation with your corners there, too, and the fact that he's gotten early playing time, too, for him, and that's been a big benefit for that secondary.
Yeah, and the reason why we're doing that is so that, if something does happen where, one of those starters goes down, we've gotten him a lot of, early meaningful reps, and that's the main reason for that right now because, if Kai or Adrian, something were to happen to them,
right,
then we're going in there with a sophomore and a freshman that doesn't have a whole lot of experience. So that's the reason why we're getting Alex so much playing time right now.
Okay, so I've been burying the lead up on this discussion with you, so we're going to now turn our attention to the Ryan Raiders. These last two meetings have been epic. You won the last two. I remember the long Haas Haney touchdown on Diekman. Was it 87, 83 yards on it? 87 yards on the one in 2022 up in Denton. And then last year's game, the 50-some-odd run where you guys actually had the lead for pretty much most of the game, and then they came back and took the lead, and then he broke that off. And so what's it like to coach in a game like this? You've been through so many epic playoff games, but a regular season game like this with Ryan, where both of you are expected to make the playoffs, expected to make deep runs, and it may or may not, it could impact the district championship, but when you coach in a game like this, what is that like?
I mean, it's a fun game because, the kids realize how important the game is. They know that basically that the big, long, district long streak that has been around since basically their whole life
right,
is on the line. They know we got a really good football team coming in. So it's almost like getting ready for a playoff game before you get to the playoffs. So, it's really good to coach in these types of games. There's a little bit of pressure involved. You don't get as much sleep. You maybe overeat a little bit, those types of things during the week.
What a shock. We're here. And so,
we are fully expecting for this to be a great football game. I'm going to say it's two of the best defenses in the state that's going to go out and slug it out. And then, our offenses have to go against that. And the good thing about that is, we go all spring against one of the best defenses in the state, so it gets us prepared to go and play games like this.
I'll share some numbers with you all here in just a few moments, but let's get into Ryan head coach Dave Hennigan. Last year I had a meeting with him right before the game that kicked off at Tim Buchanan Stadium, and Dave kind of felt like this group of players that was coming through Ryan might be one of the best that has ever come through Ryan. Of course, that's a very proud program, as we well know. Does the tape, what you all studied, validate that?
Yeah, they're very talented. And Ryan's, every time we've ever played Ryan, they've been very, very talented. I didn't get to see them when they won the state championships the last couple of times, but I know those groups were really, really talented, and so, yeah, I mean, they've got some really, really good young kids as well as, some upperclassmen. They're, juniors and sophomores. They're really talented. Especially on the defensive line, as far as those guys are concerned. Then,
right,
then they got two senior offensive tackles that are committed to SEC schools. So, it's a really good group with them. But the thing is, our group isn't too bad.
No,
I feel like our junior class is one of the strongest classes we've ever had. So, we're going to match that with them this year and next year.
If my count is right, between your starters on both sides of the ball, I think you have like 7 total seniors that are starting, and the balance of it is juniors and sophomores.
Yeah, that's true. I looked at that one day too. Just okay, how many seniors do we have starting right now? And the number was 7.
Not a lot. Okay, so let's talk about Dave Hennigan's son, Quinn, who is the quarterback of this team. Give us a scouting report on him.
He has grown quite a bit, since last football season. Since last football season, I think Dave told me he's grown 4 inches and put on 40 pounds.
Ooh, okay.
So the kid has matured. And Dave feels like, he's going to be really close to his older son that's at Memphis right now playing.
Seth.
Mm-hmm. So he feels like he could, grow into, he's not quite there yet, but he feels like he could grow into that type of player. And he's been doing a really good job of executing their offense. I think offensively they're better with him there at that quarterback running the show, instead of just having – like they did last year with Braden Mussett, where Mussett was pretty much just running the football himself.
Right.
Snapping the ball to him and let him run, and then some RPO run game with him. But Seth, is doing a great job of distributing the ball to their athletes, and they do have quite a few athletes to get the ball to.
Right, and their offensive line, this is what you talked about a few moments ago, presents quite the challenge. Their left tackle, Ty Haywood, is committed to Alabama. Their right tackle, Marcus Garcia, is committed to Texas A&M. And then when you think about that, and of course what they have in the interior, what's going to be key for your defensive line in this part of the matchup?
Yeah, our defensive line's just got to do what they've been doing all year. They got to get off the ball. They got to get into those blocks and make it difficult on those guys to hang on to them and block them. And then those guys are on the edge are so big. You got 6'6" on the left and 6'5" on the right. You think that the center and the guards are small guys, but then you look at their weights, and one of them's 315. So those guys are big, but we've gone against big offensive lines before. So I expect for our defensive line to hold up against those guys, and hopefully our rotations that we do will be an advantage for us, keep our guys fresh and wear their guys out a little bit.
And a reminder that Aledo can absolutely play 8 defensive linemen, and that's key for especially like in a game like this.
Yeah,
so,
it's almost like you see in the hockey games where it's a line shift, and we got 4 coming on, 4 coming off, and they know they're supposed to, after the third play, look over, and if we feel like we have time to get them on and off, they're coming.
And the one thing that I've seen in your defensive line here is the fact that you might have your starters all lined up. Like for instance, in your starting defense, like you're starting. Left defensive end Carson Dempsey, right defensive end Cooper Cyphers, left tackle will be Decker Sanders, right tackle will be Timon Meeks. But you've mixed and matched those guys together with Jacob McIntyre, Jackson Richter, Taylor Foreman, Brody Adams, and it could be a sequence of Adams and Dempsey on opposite defensive ends or things like that.
Right, yeah, we mix those guys up a little bit, and then you also were adding in Cutter Harrell in there. I don't know if y'all have noticed Cutter.
Yes.
Cutter's gone from linebacker to playing a little bit of defensive end and defensive tackle. He's kind of taken on that, and he kind of likes it down there, so he's trying to put in the calories right now. He's talking to me about how many calories are in this food and that food because he needs to put on a little bit of weight to play in there, but his motor is showing up down there, and his athleticism is a little bit different than what you see with most defensive linemen. So, we're adding another guy in there that can get in there and play for us.
So that would be 9 then who would do that. You mentioned Braden Mussett. So many athletes. Lorenzo Hill, one of their top wide receivers. What are the matchup challenges that type of player presents?
We got to take away the deep balls. We can't let them have those deep balls. That was something that they've thrived on in the early parts of the year is that, they throw the deep ball. Mm-hmm. If you look at them, they're throwing RPOs, which are the quick little slants, the quick hitches, the quick out routes. But then, most of the time when they're, taking a drop back pass, they're chunking it down the field. So we got to do a good job of not letting those guys get behind us.
All right, so here's the numbers on the defense that I was teasing just a few moments ago. They will bring pressure with this defensive front. I've counted this. They have 12 sacks already through their first 4 games. Remember, Ryan has already gone through its bye, so they're 1 game behind Aledo, and then the Bearcats will catch up in a couple of weeks. So in addition to those 12 sacks, 31 quarterback pressures. One of their defensive tackles, Isaiah Warmarte, 4 sacks, 12 hurries. And so knowing all that and what Gavin Beard is not the running threat that Haas was, and without giving away anything with your game plan, does that require an extra blocker like a Waldron Byers to kind of stay in there and chip? Is it more require like 3-step drops to get the ball out? So how do you look at something like that? You want to respect them, but you don't want to over-respect them.
No, I think we continue doing what we've been doing offensively. We got to get the ball out to our playmakers out on the edge. We also got to lean on the run game. That's the reason why I decided today to bring some of our offensive linemen up here, is because this game's going to be one up front. They've got a really good defensive line, really good offensive line. We got the same. We've got a good defensive line. We've got a good offensive line. So, our offensive line matchup against their defensive line is going to be one of the big keys of the game. Mm-hmm. And, if we can give Gavin time to throw the ball, I think that's going to be big for us. But then we also have to, knock them off the ball and get some holes to run the ball.
Could be like last year, first one to 24 wins or something like that.
It could be. It's going to be a big-time battle out there. I don't know if it's going to be that low scoring, but it could be because, like I said, both defenses are really, really good. Probably and that's why they're ranked 1, we're ranked 2, because we have 2 of the best defenses in the state in Class 5A.
Okay, so let's take a step back for just a moment here now that we've given everybody a great breakdown of the Raiders. Just 4-1. We're already through the halfway point of the season. Just give me your overall assessment of where you saw this thing start against Guyer to where we are leading up to basically the start of the second half this coming Friday.
Right. I think the biggest improvement that we've made from that first game is with the offensive line. Our offensive line, of course, didn't have a whole lot of experience up front. The one guy that we did have, Payton, who's here tonight, he was just getting back from his injury that he got in spring ball, so he wasn't 100% in that game. So that limited him a little bit. So I think our offensive line has made strides. Now we do have some injuries that we're trying to overcome this week.
Right.
Hopefully we get both of those guys ready to roll this week, and we continue to improve there. But yeah, we felt like going in, we had a chance to be a really good football team, and we knew we were going to have to kind of lean on the defense early. Besides the offensive line, then we also had Ray, who was coming back from an injury, so there were some question marks there. And then everybody else, pretty much besides Caden Finley, were all brand new starters. So I think the offense is starting to come around. The defense has been playing well. We just got to look to improve on both sides of the football.
Friday can't come here fast enough. Maybe you want the pace to kind of be as slow as it possibly can so you can prepare as much. But for followers like us, we're really looking forward to this coming Friday evening. So, Coach, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, the Aledo Podcast Coaches Show is brought to you by our good friends at H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Nye Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And we're also brought to you by Hiley Mazda. Looking for a new ride? Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth has you covered. Right now, get $3,500 off MSRP or 0% interest for 36 months on the 5-star safety rated CX5 and CX30. Hurry in, these offers won't last long. Experience top-notch service and unbeatable deals in their new state-of-the-art facility in Fort Worth. Or check out their extensive Mazda lineup at HileyMazdaofFortWorth.com. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, family owned and operated for over 30 years. Stick around. On the other side of this break, we'll give you the Aledo Alumni Report. We'll also be joined by Payton Williams and Ryan Campbell. We'll be right back. This 3rd and 18, he has time, fires it down the near sideline looking for Finley, who makes the great adjustment and the catch, breaks a tackle at the 20, to the 15, to the 10, to the 5, touchdown Aledo Bearcats. We don't get to call many Aledo plays during the game, so we got to get them all recorded just because they've had so few of them over the last 2 weeks. Probably we'll have a few more of those this coming Friday against Denton Ryan. We welcome you to the second segment of the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. I'm Kevin Lonnquist. Let's give you an update on the Aledo Alumni Report. Left-hander Cody Bradford with the Texas Rangers. Of course, the Rangers season ended this past week, and they went 78-84. But the line for Bradford for his first full season with the Rangers, he went 6-3, ERA of 3.54, had 70 strikeouts in 76 innings. And again, he is expected to be a part of the rotation in 2025 when the Rangers get to spring training out in Arizona in February. And then Hawk Patrick Daniels, who you might remember, wide receiver over at Tyler Junior College. He has appeared in 4 games, has 1 tackle, no catches, and so just kind of breaking his way into things there over in East Texas. Okay, we are finally joined by what I will call for now the left side of the Aledo offensive line. That'll be left tackle Ryan Campbell and left guard Payton Williams. Payton off to my immediate left, Campbell off to my far left. Okay, probably appropriate that we have you two on because the challenge you all have with Denton Ryan coming up this Friday evening. But let's talk about the first half of the season and how this offensive line has evolved. As Coach Jones talked about, that was one of the things that was going to have to mature throughout the course of the season. What have you seen from the growth from Denton Guyer to last week against Fossil Ridge? I'll start with you, Ryan.
I would say our communication has gotten a lot better, and as our connections keep growing, that we're turning into a better O-line.
Okay, and then for you, Payton, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, I think it's just all maturity. Like, obviously, guys being fit into where they need to play, and obviously Coach Wheeler does an amazing job just putting people where they need to go week in, week out. I mean, we've been making changes. I mean, like, I played left guard, right guard. Amari's played left guard, right guard. Foreman, right guard, center. Kruger, right tackle, left tackle. Only person that doesn't change is obviously Cody, because he's just tall, and so you just keep him at the right side. Don't want to change him. But no, I mean, like, communication obviously is huge, and everyone's just matured a lot, like mentally, physically, and they just starting to understand, get that experience under them, and starting to understand what it really means to be a Bearcat and really what it means to be on varsity, and how hard we do work, and they just understand, and that's what kind of gets them out, gets them going, and really shows up on Friday nights.
Okay, so as we talked about, there were some new faces with this offensive line, one of the quote-unquote question marks going into the season. So I want you two to talk about a little about maybe even going back to spring ball and perhaps even the work leading up to spring ball, the big off-season program that this football program has and goes into that preparation. What do you think was kind of key to kind of at least building a foundation there? I'll start with you on this, Payton.
For me, at least, I'd say conditioning. Conditioning is huge. I mean, like, we really paid attention during off season, and everyone thinks conditioning is really running, doing gassers. It's more than that. It's running to your stations. It's moving that weight fast. We do first week of off season. We do 5 sets of 10 every year. It's 5 sets of 10, and so that just really gets the guys like in shape and conditioned enough to where we can go out and give our all the entire game. And obviously, with me coming back from my injuries, that has been a big deal, being out of shape, and it really makes me understand how much everyone puts into being in shape and being able to go all 4 quarters, showing really how tough this team is.
Okay, and then Ryan, for you, just going even back to maybe January, because the work begins right after you play for a state championship in mid-December.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'd say the weight room's a really big thing. For some of us being undersized and going against bigger guys on the D-line, I'd say having that strength is really important if you want to be able to compete with them.
Okay, so let's talk. By the way, we should point out, too, that both of these young men here are juniors, so you two are coming back next year, and so that's an amazing thing to have. Again, we were talking with Coach Jones a few moments ago about the number of underclassmen that are starting on both sides of the ball. And I want to ask you a little bit about just with the movement, as you all were talking about a few moments ago, that's going to happen. So do you all make it a point, or do they make it a point for you all to at least get some sort of knowledge of all 5 positions, or is it just multiple positions that you learn based on how things could work during the course of the season? Why don't you start with that, Ryan? And again, I'm talking about learning all the way back to when spring ball starts, that sort of thing.
Really, Coach Wheeler, he prefers if we know multiple positions, left or right. I know every single position. Go back to sophomore year, Coach Wheeler told me I will have a better chance of getting in if I know every position, and ended up getting in.
Okay, and then for you, Payton?
Yeah, like he said, I mean, like, that was one thing Wheeler loves talking about. He's like, if you want to get on the field, be like Ryan Campbell and play all 5 positions. And he's really made sure that we learn every position, every play. He makes sure that we're paying attention in film, not just to ourselves, but to everybody. He sees who messes up and all that stuff, and he's like, if you're here, this play, you need to fix this. Mm-hmm. And he just makes it a point that football's a battle of attrition, and you just have to make sure that you know where you know everybody's position and how to play, because it can be a big deal, especially in a tight game, whenever your guys aren't making it past the whole game. So
sure. And I'm going to ask you this from a technical standpoint. What adjustment did each of you make that is better this year than it was last year? And I'll start with you, Ryan.
I'd say I've been watching more film, and it's my footwork. It's really big. And when you get in those big games, big situations, that you have fast feet, and you just remember all your technique.
And as far as is it like your foundation in terms of just how far they're spread apart, or how would you describe that for people who don't maybe understand a little bit about how the footwork, which is vital to an offensive lineman's success, but just kind of talk about what the spacing and what adjustment you made as far as those were concerned.
Yeah, really focusing on your splits, which is how far each other's feet are. Coach Wheeler likes 18 inches. And then just focusing on staying low. Pad leverage is a real big thing down in the O-line.
Okay, and then maybe the technical thing for you, Payton, that you made the tweak from last year to this year, even though you started last year, but just what did you do that's worked on?
I think the biggest thing is my hands. My hands have they were real slow and kind of weren't coming with my body, weren't coming with my hips or anything like that. And one thing that has really helped is being able to stun a D lineman, getting to knock them off their course and get me engaged in what they're and just make them bend to my will at that point. And so just being able to fire off with my hands, get a good punch in, and just drive them, that's been a big deal. And especially without leaning. Leaning was a big no-no in no line. So whenever you get your hands right without having to lean, it's really a game changer, and it really takes you to the next level.
Okay, so I've kind of delayed the inevitable here, if you will, but let's talk about Ryan in this defensive front. I rattled off the numbers in our first segment with Coach Jones, and to your point, Ryan, where you're talking about the film study there, what stands out to you about this front? What is impressive, and what's going to be key for you all having some success on Friday night?
Well, I'd say I've noticed that each and every guy can play each and every position on their D-line, and we're just going to have to know every single guy's move so we can capitalize off of them.
Okay, and then for you, Payton?
Yeah, just what he said. I mean, like, their move. I mean, like, everyone has their go-to, and you just have to be able to counter that. And I trust our abilities to counter that, especially in just they are a really good D-line. That will be one of the best teams that we play all year, and we just have to come out firing, just show them that we're the tougher team, we're the better team, and just go out there and prove who we are.
But this is why you play in games. This is why you were at this program competing for state championships year after year. What is the challenge for getting ready for a game like this? What have you found from a focus or a mental preparation thing, or just a work habit kind of thing during the week? What is there a challenge, or is it easy to lock in for a game like this than perhaps maybe Fossil Ridge, or do you have to treat them the same? I'll start with you on this, Ryan.
I'd say I find it easier to kind of focus up when we have a bigger game ahead of us. I don't know if it's just the atmosphere or what I know what's coming, but definitely a bigger game, it's easier to lock in.
Okay, and then for you, Payton.
Yeah, it's obviously easier to lock in, especially when you know who you're going against.
That was kind of a softball question, but anyway.
And especially when you know who you're going against, and I think the biggest deal is don't feel sorry for yourself during the week. Biggest deal is practice. Just going hard every day. There's a time to joke around, there's a time to lock in, and so we just kind of have to focus in, especially trying to have fun at the same time. Mm-hmm. Just try to take that pressure off of us, but obviously giving our effort and just showing, like, through the week, progressing. Never take a step back, and just always progressing. You
don't want to get so intense or overhyped that you kind of go over the edge. You want to kind of find that balance.
You want to stay in control. You want to stay in control of your mind, stay in control of your body, and that will be a huge deal.
I was, again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion, that you all, for now, are going to be on the left side protecting Gavin Beard's blind side. That could change leading up to Friday, of course. And he's not the runner that Haas Haney was. So what's going to be important for you two in terms of just knowing that there's probably they're going to bring a lot of pressure on him, and so they're going to try, since you're going to be watching his back, what's going to be important to kind of make sure that he has a clean pocket, or at least enough of a pocket that he can get the ball downfield, or he can distribute in a timely fashion. How do you see that, Ryan?
I'd say communicating up front, because they like to blitz a lot, and I think that's a real big part of their defense, and I think if we'll be able to shut that down, Gavin will have all the time in the world.
And then for you, Payton.
Yeah, understanding their front. Understanding their front is a big deal, and as long as we know their front, we know how to block it, and I trust guys next to me that they'll get their right gap, get the right slide, man, whoever it is, tell us when they're twisting, whatever it is, and I think Gavin, for sure, will have enough time.
And you all have this balanced offensive attack. Of course, Aledo's been known for its running game over the years. You have two pretty good running backs between Ray Guillory and Caden Wingfield. And of course, we've seen Brady Powell's emergence over the last few weeks as well. But just giving each of those guys a crease and being able to churn. Yards are going to be hard to come by in some cases. Maybe you're only able to break one. But if you can stick to it, 4, 3, 5, 2, 7, what's that going to mean throughout the course of the ballgame if you can get those kinds of plays going consistently throughout the night? We'll start with you, Payton.
That'll be everything. I mean, like, that's how you tear a defense apart. That's how you break their will. That's how you bend their spirits. I mean, like, we're going to come out, we're going to come out firing. I mean, we're going to come out and just drive the ball down their throat, and they're not going to be able to stop us.
And then for you, Ryan?
I'd say, how we kind of came out with that Geyer game, smash mouth football. I mean, I think if we come out like that, keep our foot on the pedal, I think we won't have any problems. I think we'll be good.
Okay, so let's end this discussion about recruiting opportunities. I mean, Ryan, I know for you it's all fairly new. I don't know what kind of discussions you've had with schools, but just from what you've just take us through what you've learned to this point, schools that you may have some contact with, and just what this experience has been like for you, just getting to know them and them getting to know you.
I'd really just say updating your film and stuff. I went to a good bit of camps this summer, like UIW, Rice, TCU, all those. And I just say it's something you just got to keep building on.
Okay, and then for you, when you go to those camps, you know, it's going to be, can you get enough reps? Because there's so many guys that are going to be down there. How many number of guys, because there's several hundred guys at these camps every summer. So how many were each, how many members were, or how many players, I should say, were at these camps? And how many reps were you able to get to kind of at least show something one way or the other?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's real hard to get reps. There'd be like 15 guys for one position, and they'd even split up in two. So it's real. It can be hard to get reps at camps and stuff, but you just got to make the most of it when you get your chance.
Sure. And then for you, Payton, just tell everybody about where your offers are at this point, and then schools that might be that you're still talking to that haven't offered yet. Where does that stand?
So my offers right now are Duke, Pitt, UTEP, UNT, Texas State, UTSA, and Houston Christian. Then I have a couple schools, a little bit in the SEC, some in the Big 10 or Big 12, Baylor, OU, Mizzou, FSU, SMU, schools like that are talking to me right now. But recruiting's a big deal. I mean, like, you have to just stay on top of your game. Obviously, film is the big deal. That's your selling point. I mean, like, being able to show that you can play is the biggest.
I was going to say, you had a great experience because your brother went through this. He's now down at Louisiana. So what was that like, just kind of learning the things that he went through and the tips that you picked up and then that sort of thing as far as just understanding the experience itself?
Yeah, that was very helpful to me, especially because obviously my oldest brother as well, he also went through the recruiting process, and that's really helped me help me and my parents understand what coaches are looking for, how they kind of perceive you a little bit sometimes, and just being able to stay level-headed about it, I guess, is the biggest deal, because your time will come, especially. I think that's the biggest deal, is like, you can't get it all in your head thinking you deserve this, you deserve that, you think you're better than this guy or whatever it is. It's just stay level-headed and understand that your time will come if you're that guy. And so I think my time is coming. I think that it's been great. I stay humble about it and just trying to go about my day, just play football, and everything will come to it.
Sure. And then, Ryan, for you, as we wrap this up, as far as just have you gotten your film out there for like every 2 games, every 3 games, or what's been your strategy during this fall in terms of just getting your huddles out there and then maybe sending it to coaches and things like that?
I've been posting my film every week, and then recently I made a first 3 games, and then after this game I'll make a mid-season highlight and send that out to coaches. So build on relationships.
Just keep grinding away, because you never know how that's going to pop. Someday you don't know. The way I've seen this over the years is that you don't think anyone's listening or watching or paying attention, and all of a sudden, boom, they come and call you, or they swing by maybe during the December evaluation. They ask Coach Jones about you and say, well, tell me a little bit more about him. And then that's the way and then it just kind of crescendos after that. So are we ready for Friday? Yeah.
100%. Yes,
okay.
sir.
Are you ready?
100%.
Okay. I mean, again, that's kind of a rhetorical question, but that is going to be a fun game. So, guys, thanks so much for being with. Give it up for these 2 gentlemen here, Ryan Campbell and Payton Williams here. And we want to remind you that this podcast is supported by our friends at H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Knife Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And Hiley Mazda. Looking for a new ride? Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth has you covered. Right now, get $3,500 off MSRP or 0% interest for 36 months on the 5-star safety-rated CX-5 and CX-30. Hurry in, these offers won't last long. Experience top-notch service and unbeatable deals in their new state-of-the-art facility in Fort Worth, or check out the extensive Mazda lineup at HileyMazdaofFortWorth.com. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, family-owned and operated for more than 30 years. Don't forget the Bearcats. Well, why would you forget? But the Bearcats play 7 o'clock Friday night against Denton Ryan. That's number 1 Denton Ryan against number 2 Aledo. The pregame show on Hank FM at 6:30. And then we will be back here next Monday here at Blue Rays of New Orleans in Hudson Oaks as we will review this game against the Raiders, and then we'll start looking ahead to Granbury, which will be the last game before the Bearcats have their bye. So until Friday night, when you're listening to us on Hank FM with the Bearcats and the Raiders, I'm Kevin Lonnquist. Thank you all for joining us. So long for now.
Thanks for listening to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, with Bearcats head coach Robby Jones and the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist. Please like and subscribe to this podcast and tell a friend. You're also welcome to join us every Monday night at 7 from Blue Rays of New Orleans in Hudson Oaks. And then listen to every Aledo Bearcats game, home and away, live on Real Country 92.1 Hank FM, on the free 92.1 Hank FM app, or online at 921hankfm.com.